Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And Nancy and I want to welcome to the show for the first time, but not the last time, Nina Jonson, who's coming to us from the Minnesota Life College. She's been working in the field of youth development for nearly 15 years. She's been teaching, mentoring, presenting to, and connecting with young people about issues that are pertinent to them. Her passion happens to be healthy sexuality and positive relationships for all people, particularly those with special needs. She is the director of enrollment and outreach for Minnesota Life College, which I can't wait for you to hear about, because I got to meet Nina and talk with her a little bit when we were both at the Autism Society of America conference last year in Louisiana. So Nina, welcome. We're really excited to have you here.
Thanks, Nancy and Shannon. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. Now, Nina, tell us about the Minnesota Life College in Richfield, Minnesota.
So Minnesota Life College has been around for 20 years, and we are a really unique lifelong program for young adults with autism and learning differences. We have a 3-year undergraduate program where students after high school can really focus in on those independent living skills, social skills, and vocational skills. And then once they graduate, our students, 90% of our students graduate with paid employment, and 90% of them live independently when they are done. They go on and they're living independently, and then we have a lifelong community living program that provides social activities, additional support if needed, but all of the different facets that will allow our now independent adults to remain independent for the rest of their lives.
This is amazing. Why do we not have this in California, in Los Angeles area? It sounds
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This program's been in existence, how long did you say?
20 years. We were founded by a mom in 1996.
Well, this is so many of us are we're thinking about the future for our kids. If you have a kid who's, aging up, is a teen, preteen, we've got to start thinking about these things, and you seem to be ahead of the curve in this area, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, when our program was founded, there just weren't a lot of other programs out there, and that's why this mom started the program. She wanted to find a college experience for her son that maybe wasn't going to go into a traditional academic college. And we've always felt like we've been ahead of the curve, not only because of what we did back then, but now the fact that we're lifelong, because even after high school, there's a huge drop in sort of a cliff that people fall off in terms of services. But then we also don't think about the fact that people with autism and learning differences aren't always young people. They grow up and they're in their 40s and 60s and 80s, and they still need some kinds of support, but are fully capable of living independently with the right support and resources.
So you believe relationships and human connection is a right for all people. Tell us a little bit about your view on that.
Absolutely. In my work over the past, 15 years, I was disappointed and so many times when I would see programs that would talk about relationships and friendship and connections only through the lens of neurotypical people, as if other people maybe didn't deserve to have those connections or couldn't find them. And in all of my work and talking with individuals, every person I've ever talked to wants some kind of connection. Maybe they're not interested in a romantic relationship, but they want a friend or a peer group or a community to be a part of. And so I've always really pushed, and it's something that I feel so proud that the program that I work for stresses, is that every young person needs and deserves to have friends and a community and the opportunity to find love and relationships and a romantic connection.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're finally getting to meet her, because I remember coming back from the conference. We met so many people at the conference, but Nina, you were one of the people that I came back and I immediately said to Nancy, you got to meet this lady. Yeah. She's singing a song you're going to want to hear.
Is this program primarily, do you service primarily individuals from the Minnesota area, or do you have people from all around the country coming?
We actually have students and graduates from 28 states. Mm-hmm. So both coasts, we've got people from Texas to Oregon to Maine and everywhere in between. So we do definitely have a lot of people from Minnesota and Wisconsin and Illinois, but we've got people from everywhere else. And a lot of times the reason they come to us is because they can't find a program that does what we do where they live.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's hitting it right on the head. I'm wondering, Nina, though, there's a lot of parents that are and caregivers that are watching the show right now and wondering what can they do, what can they be doing to support healthy relationships and development and the development of relationships for the people that they love that are on the autism spectrum.
Absolutely. I feel really lucky that because of my role as director of admissions, I get to spend so much time talking with parents and families, and I get to hear some of the things that they already are doing. Sometimes parents do feel really frustrated that they always have to be the orchestrator of social activities, or, they say, I want my young person to call their friends, but they won't unless I do it for them. But, sometimes that's what's going to work. It doesn't mean that you don't want to push them and say, hey, next time, can you push one of the buttons on the phone? Or I'll dial and you say hello. But I really appreciate all those parents that aren't giving up and just saying, I'm so tired of making plans for my child. So I appreciate all the parents that are continuing trying to find connections for their student. I think another thing is trying to access any sort of connections that they have in their area. Some people live in areas where there are lots of resources for support groups and social groups for people with autism, but other places don't have those. So maybe it's more of an interest level thing. Maybe there's a GameStop video game store where they can bring their son or daughters who could actually play video games in the store and talk to somebody. Or maybe there's some kind of interest group that has a meeting at the library that they can go to. So I don't ever want parents to think that it's going to be easy. As you both probably know, there's a ton of work going into parenting any child, particularly somebody with autism. So parents do still need to support their students, but I also think that sometimes once a parent has made those first steps, they need to step back a little bit. And maybe how their child interacts with other people isn't exactly the way the parents would do it, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And so sometimes we'll hear parents and say, I just wish that they weren't on their phone, or I wish that they weren't playing video games. But for some students, that's how they connect. The actual social and eye contact piece is very challenging, but they can find words in a video game or texting that they can't find verbally. And so I think it's really important that sometimes those modes of communication seem frightening to us or unknown to us, but they really can help open the world for our kids.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up because I do think that part of it is that we think we're supposed to be teaching our kids about socialization, because it's our job as parents, but socialization has changed so much. I'm fearful because I feel like an idiot sometimes when I don't know how many times it's appropriate to text somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. and I don't even, my son has to show me how to use my smartphone. So talk to us a little bit about how technology, you've already mentioned some things, but what role should it be taking in their lives and in their communication?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things where technology is almost like currency to young people now. If you want to give them a privilege, giving them extra time or the Wi-Fi password for 2 hours instead of 1, or, and if somebody needs, hasn't been doing what you want them to do, sometimes saying, okay, no TV or no video games for today can be a really powerful message because technology is such an important part of young people's lives. It shouldn't replace any kind of human connection because there are things that we need to see and say and do that we only can do in person. But at the same time, technology can be really helpful. We'll see many of our students that have really learned social skills from watching how, we have students that will watch The Sims. They'll play The Sims, but really they're standing there watching them. They're watching how other people talk and interact. in a way that they maybe couldn't stand in a park and just stare at people. But in the game, it's okay for them to sort of watch other people interacting and talking and see what they do. We have students who will be having really rich conversations with each other while they're sitting right next to each other on the couch texting one another. But if you ask them to put their phones away, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't talk, but they wouldn't be able to have as deep of a conversation and build as strong of a relationship. So I think for parents, one of the pieces that parents really can default to is technology is scary and it's a very dangerous place. And so either I'm not comfortable giving my young person any access to it, or the thought of, well, I don't really know this language, I'm not going to take time to learn it, I'll just leave it for my kid. And I've seen parents really be able to connect with their young person around technology, saying, show me how this works. Yeah. Show me what to do. In terms of, and maybe it's not their young person, maybe it's another young person, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a friend's child, maybe it's a niece or nephew. But, young people in general love talking about something they're really good at, and they're really good at technology. So being able to be comfortable and say, hey, I don't know this, but I want to learn is important.
Yeah.
In terms of, I
was just going to say, I always think of the story of the dad who was on the show and said to me, he said, the turning point for me was that I would spend so much of my day saying to my kid, get off the phone, get off the phone, get off the phone. And that the day that I said, what is it that you're playing on that phone that is so exciting to you? And the kid said, Clash of Clans. And so the dad said, I don't know how to do that. Show me how to do it. And now he plays Clash of Clan with his son, and they go and raid other people's clans. And he said it has now become one of the strongest points in their relationship.
Wow, that's great, because now it's teaching that child socialization skills.
And he has that in common, and they don't have that thing where they're butting heads. Right. So I appreciate you saying that, Nina. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just, I always think about that.
Nina, I'm curious how you got into this line of work. Did you have a personal connection with someone on the spectrum?
Actually, it is all thanks to my husband. He is actually a special education teacher. And so when he was going through his master's program, I was doing sexual health education at the time, and he actually came as a field trip to Minnesota Life College, and I came along with. And when I was here, I said, when we left, I said, I wonder if students with disabilities are getting any kind of sex education. So I started calling schools at the time and saying, do you have anybody that does this? And they said, oh my goodness, somebody who could talk about relationships, somebody who could talk about, dating with our students, please come and do that. And then I also got to start coming and doing that at Minnesota Life College with our students who have graduated. We've got graduates now who are married. We have a variety of couples. And these are some people that needed some support and resources. And then that sort of over time turned into my career here, getting to tell all the people about the amazing things we do at MLC. So my career in sex ed was before MLC, but MLC brought me to people with special needs, and people with special needs brought me back to MLC. So it's kind of a great
And we should say that, people, you're an amazing speaker, and you do presentations, and you are available for consultations, that kind of thing. But and that's separate. But let's make sure that we give people, how can they find out more about Minnesota Life College?
Yeah, well, it's really easy to find. We're online at minnesotalifecollege.org or .com, either one. We also have a great Facebook page, and I'm just giving it a shout out because I'm our moderator for it. Okay. So I highly suggest you check out our Facebook page at Minnesota Life College. It's a great way to learn about all that we do. We also travel around most of the year presenting and visiting people in different states. We have families who are wonderful ambassadors for us in all of the states that we have students that come from. So we have families that are willing to meet with people in other states or talk to them on the phone and talk about their experience. One of the biggest things we feel like we can give families is hope, and the idea that there are places that your son or daughter can go and learn how to live independently and have a really amazing, independent, but connected future. One of our graduates said it to me, and I just love it. He said, "The thing I love about MLC is because I'm here, I'm independent, but I'm never alone." And this is a graduate who, when he started, basically went through his entire school career not ever getting invited to a single activity or a single birthday party. Now he's, one of the most beloved members of our community. He regularly does public speaking. He's in a wonderful relationship. Basically he's got real friends, and that's the thing he talks about all the time. It's just, this was a place where I didn't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not. I don't have to pretend that I get everything that everybody else is doing. I'm fully embraced for being me.
It sounds remarkable, and I wish we could clone you and the program.
and maybe we can clone the program.